Today we've got an interesting one. Check this out. Dude starts life as the son of a Marine. He's got an awesome mother that teaches him how to be a good man. Becomes a barber. And as a barber, meets some pretty cool people. People that maybe are in movies, in the high levels of the music industry. And he parlays those relationships into becoming a guy involved with managing some pretty big music acts. Let's dig in with Mr. Bear Sills. Here we go. Welcome to another episode of the Carry Trainer Higher Line podcast. Well, hey all, welcome to yet another episode of the Higher Line podcast. I've got a really cool guest on today. His name is Courtney Sills, but everybody calls you Bear. Isn't that correct?
This is correct.
You are kind of an interesting cat. Nobody really knows what you actually do. It's pretty hard to pin down. There's pictures of you on the internet with movie stars and actresses and rock stars and all kinds of people, and you're super quiet. And when I met you, you hated me, but now we're kind of friends. So who the
Hated
heck,
you?
who
Hated
the heck is Courtney? Well, the look on your face at 1 o'clock in the morning was nothing but disgust. That's a fact. That's a fact.
That's generally the look on my face. I sometimes think it's stoicism, but some people's like, no, you really look angry, sir.
So the Stoics had a resting bitch face. I get it.
Let me tell you something. I don't really have a whole lot of conversations with white people. So hearing the way you guys communicate sometimes is absolutely hilarious to me. I am not in any way, shape, or form offended by it, but I'm definitely like, for us, hearing that word bitch and that type of stuff, as directed to men, it could be offensive.
Well, I didn't say that you were a bitch. I said resting bitch face. That's like a, kind of like a.
I love it.
A play on words. Now we'll have to come back. We'll have to come back to the talking to white people thing in a minute because I don't even understand. We're just people, but we'll circle back. Who the heck is Courtney Sills?
Courtney Sills is I am the son of an amazing mother who passed away in August of 2019. Her name was Diane. And I was raised, my father was a Marine. And I was born on a military base in Anniston, Alabama. Moved to Camp Lejeune, Paris Island, ended up back in Anniston for my first grade year. And then from there, I moved to Atlanta, downtown Atlanta. And I guess moving to Atlanta and then immediately College Park really shaped who I am based on and being raised by a Baptist Christian, God-loving woman like my mother, who was educated in Connecticut and Providence, Rhode Island, and was a registered nurse, and then ended up working for the state of Georgia as an executive over the mental health, mental retardations, and substance abuse program of Georgia. So I was raised in a home with I have a twin sister. So all these things have kind of made me maybe a little bit more exposed to some things that might not be normal in not with my friends. Like with my friends, their households was pretty normal. Mine was a little bit different just based on that. But to sum it all up, Courtney is a God-fearing, sensitive, analytical, lover of challenges, and student of everything and everyone.
I dig that. You, one of the things that I wanted to share with people is you started a not-for-profit.
True.
Give me the overview on that.
Well, back in when COVID first started, based on my affiliations in the streets, I had quite a few friends in various areas of Atlanta and on the South Side. And there's this community that was called Four Seasons. And during COVID, and when I say Four Seasons, people from Atlanta will understand Four Seasons, Forest Cove is a very low income community, what we would call projects or housing projects. A friend of mine who is a pastor, Pastor Horatius Harris, called me and said, Bear, I have some fresh produce, a truck full in a refrigerated truck. Do you know any families that might need some fresh produce? And I said, absolutely. I called up my guys over in Forest Cove, Four Seasons, the Thomasville Heights area, and coordinated going there to give away this fresh produce. And while I was there, I saw so many families in need of vegetables, chicken, milk, cheese. I saw so many children helping their parents. And I'm saying 4, 5, 6-year-old children, some of which are barefoot, some of which may only have had shorts on and no shirt, some of which had holes in their sneakers or raggedy flip-flops or slides, helping their parents carry food into their homes excitedly, like they really needed it, not like, oh, I'll take it, it's free. Like they really needed it. And in that day, what I discovered was, how can these children, based on health and wellness, how can they be in the right mindset when they go to school to learn if they're not sure where their next meal is going to come, if they don't have socks and shoes and t-shirts and underwear and toothbrushes and toothpaste and lotion, because they need food. How can they have the rest of the things that we might not think about for our children, because their drawers are full of socks, underwear, t-shirts. They never not having tissue or toothpaste or mouthwash or lotion or shampoo. They're never not having that. That's not even an issue. But for these communities, they needed food. So I knew that the basic essential items were secondary and maybe thirdary. So that is what propelled me to start Bear Stong Inc. Because I wanted to focus on helping children from a health and wellness place feel good about themselves mentally. You know, I wanted them to feel good going to school, having 10 pair of socks and new sneakers and 3, 4 toothbrushes to last them, you know, for months, deodorant, lotion, coats, hats. I wanted them to go to school feeling clean and being at least happy with, you know, maybe having baby wipes to take care of themselves, female products for the kids. Like, it's just so much that when we went back after Bear Stong was created, after we did a drive to collect essential items for kids, the program activation is called Kids Are Essential. And we went back with a U-Haul truck full of these essential items and pass them out. And if you would have thought we were passing out cotton candy at a fair, the way these children were coming up asking, can I get a toothbrush for my brother? Can I get some socks for my little sister? Oh, my mother said if you have 2 or 3 Pampers or diapers, can she get a couple for my sister? Like when I started realizing how impoverished that these people were, I knew that school wasn't a focus, survival was.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, that's what kind of started Bear Strong, as well as over the last 15 years, I probably have been called upon by artists and executives and film companies, production companies, to maybe help secure a particular area in the city where they want to shoot, or there might be some issues between this community and that community, and I could step in conflict, do conflict resolution, and just being a great communicator, blessed with that ability from being a barber, being a great communicator and resolving issues and getting enemies not to be enemies, and maybe stopping some wars locally. That's why Bear Strong was created. And it's something that has given me so much more purpose in my life, positively impacting young people's lives. It's been an amazing spiritual and mental transformation for me. It's been absolutely amazing.
Couple things thinking about that. I know about poverty. Not I, and nobody's experience is the same as anybody else's, but I had no hot water, no electricity, all those things. Um, my dad was a preacher, hardworking people, but um, money could be scarce at times, and my parents, are still in their 70s working, because it's not like you work in a church and end up with a ton of cash. But that's not really where I'm going. Thinking about these kids, and my parents are from the south side of Chicago. My grandfather lived in a neighborhood that was full of kids, just like what you're describing. I'm listening to that, and the first thing that comes to mind for me is, okay, I'm a dad. There's nobody having to bring my kids toothbrushes or toothpaste or, um, you know, freaking socks. And I've been the guy that's had to borrow money from a coworker for diapers. 30 years ago, I remember a couple times when my kids were little, having to ask a buddy, "Hey man, can I borrow $20 so I can get a bag of diapers?" Just being that hard up for cash. Um, where's their parents at? Is there no work in these communities? Is it an education issue? Is it a motivation issue?
In this particular community, what I learned was that there are generations of people that live in this community.
Hmm.
There are grandparents, there are parents, and there are kids that have lived in this community all their lives. And it's literally, to me, it was like being in a whole new world. Now, mind you, this community is a quarter mile or less, probably less at the time. Now they've now been demolished. They should have been demolished. They should have been condemned years ago, like years ago. It's less than a quarter mile away from the Atlanta Penitentiary, federal penitentiary. These kids were growing up next door to a historic federal penitentiary. Just for me being aware of energy, seeing these walls, these gates, I don't know if you've ever seen the Atlanta federal penitentiary. Next time you come to Atlanta, I'll take you.
Okay.
So you
I
can
don't think
see
I have.
it's Gothic, right? And it sits right next door to what was at the time Thomasville, Four Seasons, and Forest Cove. So just the effect, the psychological effect of the mindset of children in that area for generations. It blew my mind once we thought about it. So were there fathers coming up asking for anything? No. Were there mothers, grandmothers? Yes. There were not a lot of men. Men helped me coordinate it. Men from that community helped me make sure that the right families got what they needed. Men from that community made sure that me and the volunteers were safe. Men from that community who do the best that they can to help others in that community and protect that community. They were all contributors to making this particular activation successful, but even the volunteers were absolutely floored that this place and this living condition existed in Atlanta. Like, had no understanding that this community existed in 2021. Real people. You would have thought that this was a third world country. And that sent me on a journey to make sure that whatever kids, families that I could contribute to help alleviate some of the pressures of survival. It was especially for the kids, man. Again, and I reference this often in my conversations with potential sponsors and donations. Like, have you ever seen a child ecstatic about getting a toothbrush and toothpaste?
I have. We work down in Costa Rica in a community that a notebook, well, I mean, this is a fancy leather bound one, but a notebook and pencils is like you or me getting a bike or something as
For
kids.
sure.
And so, yeah, it's a strange thing, especially, like if just from the perspective of other parts of your city where there's opulence and waste, just whatever the thing may be. And I'm like the kind of guy where my brain is fix yourself, take care of your shit. I'm all about helping other people. That's why I wanted to have this discussion. But just the way my brain works, the way I was raised, my grandfather used to say, you made your bed, lie in it. My grandfather used to say, the Lord helps those who help themselves. And he came from my mom's dad, was basically the son of a woman that had to sell herself to pay the bills in Europe. Like, we're talking right at the middle of World War I. And he came here with his mother and drunk stepdad. And as a teenager, took care of his brothers and sisters while going to school. And then threw his stepdad out because he was a bum, a drunk, and went to school, went to work, paid the bills, got married, and like, was a tradesman, and like died with $1 million in the bank working as a typesetter for a big printer, and probably never made more than 12 or 13 bucks an hour, by the time he retired. But where I'm going with that is, you look at a city like any city, and you see, like, on one end of town, people scraping half a steak in the garbage and driving cars worth $250,000, and then you see a kid that can't brush his teeth or have good a clean bed or whatever the thing is. It's mind numbing.
It is. It absolutely is. And it was great for me. I mean, I found the blessing in it is for me and all the people who work alongside Bear Stong is it made us more appreciative of our blessings, and it made us realize that, 70% of the stuff we have we don't need,
Hmm.
and it was just so good for our hearts to, do this work. And it also culminated in me being able to purchase bicycles for kids, because cycling is something that I love. And I've been doing now probably for about 15 years, but cycling in terms of riding a road bike probably for the last 5 years. And what cycling has done for me spiritually and mentally, as well as physically, I just wanted to make sure that children were having an outlet to use some energy and get some exercise by cycling and getting on bicycles. And over the last 5 years, we've purchased and given away hundreds of bikes. Over the last 3 years, Specialized Bikes has been a huge supporter of my program. And alongside Killer Mike and Big Boy from Outkast, we have gone into schools and awarded or rewarded children who had, these not straight A students. We're not rewarding straight A. We're rewarding students who come to school, attendance. You understand?
Mm.
Attendance with bikes. Thank you. I'm give a shout out to my man Tony at Specialized here in the Atlanta area. Thank you so much for all you do. And Carter Schmick down at Sonoya Bicycles in Sonoya, Georgia. Thank you so much for all you guys have done to help Bear Strong with these activations and promoting cycling and health and wellness in my community.
That's cool. You just mentioned a couple people, Killer Mike being one of them. That's how I know you, Mike Render. How the heck did you get involved with him? And I want to circle back to, what we're talking about here in a second, but just want to kind of paint a bigger picture here of like what your life is.
I started in the music industry as a barber in the early 90s. And through barbering and my relationships with Dallas Austin, Kevin Wells, I started being the professional celebrity barber in 92 for Another Bad Creation, Boys to Men, the studio barber for a guy named Sean Combs, Busta Rhymes, Eric Sherman, Will Smith, and every producer, songwriter that would come to Atlanta to work at Dark. And through that, I end up discovering a singing group with a friend of mine, Richard Wingo. We discovered a singing group that later became a group called 112 that was signed to Bad Boy Entertainment. So through that, I met a gentleman named Blue Williams, who at the time was working with Shakim and Queen Latifah at Flavor Unit Management. And we created a great relationship. We were very, very cool. He was from the Bronx, New York. I'm from College Park, Georgia. But we were very, very, very cool, like good dudes. So when my relationship with 112 ended, he called me and said, "Hey, bro, I'd like you to come become a part of my new management company, Family Tree." And at the time, he was the driving force and manager behind Outkast. And I was thrilled. I was absolutely thrilled. Whatever I can do to help you, Blue, and be a part of your organization, I'm with it. I trust your leadership. And with that, I met, and immediately he wanted me to meet Killer Mike and wanted me to be a part of his management team. So we met in Buckhead at the Cheesecake Factory on Peachtree Street, sat down for lunch, and immediately I decided, he's probably a dope rapper, but I definitely don't like him. So that was our first meeting.
You didn't like Mike?
Um, not particularly. I was excited to be working. I was excited to be working with him. I was excited to be in close association with Family Tree, with Blue Williams, and with Outkast's new artists, who obviously had a high skill set. But me being from College Park and him being from the west side of Atlanta, there was some chest beating a little bit. I'm from here. Well, I'm from here. I can do this. Well, I did this type of, some man shit, I guess. And it took me a minute to understand him as not only a young, skilled artist, but also as a young father, as a creative, as someone who's very sensitive at the same time, but carries a huge bravado, with him. So it wasn't long before I had a little brother that I never expected that I would have. And it's been that way since 2003 with he and I.
Long time.
It's been a long time of learning and growing and adjusting and sharing and patience and understanding.
So what do you do for him, with him?
In the beginning, working with him, this was as a manager, co-manager of his career. As things fell apart with his relationship with Outkast and the record deal, early, 2005 or 2006, I'm not sure of the year, we decided to do business more like partners. And as he was putting out solo projects independently, I ended up discovering an artist named Yellow Wolf and moving to New York again and working with him. But at the time, Killer was working with Tip at Hustle Gang. And our relationship was very close, but as he was trying to figure his way out, I was also having to provide for myself and my family. So at some juncture, maybe 10 years ago, I got a call and I was asked, could I come out on the road with him? And I didn't realize the reason that I was being asked was more so because there's a high level of respect between he and I, and my expectations of him and my experience at that point, 15 plus years of experience on a high level with very successful artists, he would maybe listen to me, more so than maybe some of the people that were around him daily. So as I came in to just be a day-to-day person, maybe a road manager, maybe even assist him, definitely keep him safe, not only from crowds or fans or haters, but even sometimes from himself. So it became, again, I wasn't aware of what was needed, but what I've learned here recently, that things definitely changed for the better since I've been a part of this incredible organization, meaning Run the Jewels, his solo projects, part of the management team that's incredible. Will, So yeah, I'm whatever's needed. I'm a jack of all trades. So I'm able to do whatever's needed to be done.
How does a barber know anything about the music industry?
Because my barbering led me to a lot of time with artists and celebrities, and that I utilized that time to be in school, to learn from them. I spent a lot of time in the recording studio with Boyz II Men, with Tim and Bob, with the two producers who produced a great deal of their music on their second album. Quadri, who was Boyz II Men's manager at the time, security people, met three of my instructors in the martial arts through working at cutting hair at Dallas's studio. I was always in training. I utilized that time as a barber to ask questions and learn. Imagine having 45 minutes to yourself to sit down and talk to Will Smith, you know, and I utilized it. I didn't waste that time with small talk. I wanted to understand, how does this work? How does that work? Songwriting, publishing, all the things. This was my environment. It was like going to school. And coming from where I'm from, College Park, and having gone to high school with Dallas Austin, and been around Jermaine Dupri since he was 9 years old. And my big brother, Kevin Wells, I was just a student. I became a sponge. So touring with Another Bad Creation, which was 6 kids, who exploded on the scene in the early 90s and eventually, toured or went out with Michael Jackson. And like, they were huge. I saw what we would call pandemonium, little girls passing out and crying over these artists and these songs. And I was extremely inspired by the understanding that your focus is your reality. And what I mean by that is, Dallas and I went to high school together. Kevin Wells and I went to high school together. Jermaine Dupri and I lived in the same community. Divine Stevens and I lived in the same community, went to school together. Tion from TLC and I went to school together. Marquez Etheridge, the songwriter for Waterfalls, we went to school together. So their focus created this reality for them. Whereas my focus with barbering also put me in the same room with them, which helped me evolve into a manager and a road manager and a tour manager. And because of my training in the martial arts starting in 92, 93, until now, I also had a huge respect for executive protection or personal bodyguards who were highly skilled, not just bodyguard muscle type of guys. I like the thinking aspect of advancing a date, making sure that all the components around that venue and that stage and those dressing rooms were safe. Having toured with Puff Daddy and the family during the East Coast, West Coast war, and having to have police officers and high level combatants as our personal protection and security from anywhere from Chicago from the Midwest to the West Coast. It was always security, security, security. So I just learned a lot in these environments, and all my clients have always been safe, always.
So that's one of the things that you kind of manage and oversee for Mike too.
Yep, yes, sir, absolutely, proudly, because I do understand also that he is a priceless gem of a human being who has an incredible perspective and voice for the people. And with that, He has people who love him, and he has people who may, act like they hate him. But at the end of the day, for me and mine, it's about making sure that he makes it home safe,
Mm-hmm.
in order for him to keep doing the work that he does, and I'm thankful for it. I never imagined that I would be ever considered as a executive protection or security for somebody, but that's naturally, I think, in my nature, based on who I am, based on what my father may have instilled in me early on as a Marine, in understanding, what it is he did as a drill sergeant. He prepared Marines for battle. So for me, it's in me. It's just something I can do. But I'm also a songwriter. I also write love songs. So I had a song published on Justin Bieber's album.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
You write for the Bieber.
Thankfully, through a songwriter that I'm credited with discovering. His name is Pooh Bear. He is actually my little cousin, my mother's sister's baby boy, who moved to Atlanta from Connecticut, from New Haven. He and his brother, and was inspired by Another Bad Creation, ABC, and because I was working with them, ended up wanting to be an artist and did his, boy, when I tell you, from 11, 12 years old till 16, you can tell him he wasn't going to make it in the music business as an artist, but he developed a skill set of songwriting. And once I figured out that I could write songs as well, there's a song, one of the first songs I wrote or co-wrote was a song called Cupid by the group 112, which ended up being number 2 in the country on the Billboard charts.
Wow.
Yeah. So with that, I brought my little cousin in, Pooh Bear. And if you look him up, Jason Boyd, they call him Pooh Bear. Just an incredible, incredible songwriter. And we share the same blood.
So do you spend time writing, or is it just like if something pops in your head, you write it, or is it like a thing that you sit down and crank every day or week?
Well, I find myself more and more inspired in ideas and emotions that I'm able to put in words. So I write all the time. Now, I don't necessarily give my song ideas to people to create with them, because that's a whole nother thing. But writing to me is an outlet. It's therapeutic for me, It's very therapeutic for me. And over the last year, I've been very inspired, to say the least, very inspired, just to write. So I'll pull out some of these emotions and feelings, put into words, to maybe someone can emote or use them and send some good energy somewhere.
I dig that. I dig that. As we're sitting here just chatting, I'm thinking about there's all kinds of information in the limited time I've spent with you. I had no idea about 90% of the stuff that you told me. You're kind of a quiet guy, I think, by nature. Um, you started out the conversation saying you don't talk a lot to white people. Why not?
I'm just not around them.
So,
But because now you have to think, now I do work with Run the Jewels. So that puts me in very close proximity on tour buses in the day to day with some of the most amazing, other than Black people. With that being said, there's a guy I met with Run the Jewels named Connor, man. He's out of New York. He's one of my, when I say I love this guy, man, I love this guy. So I've had some incredible relationships, friendships, mentorships from all races of people. But I live in Atlanta in College Park, so I'm really not around. Like I'm really like anywhere else in the country. If you're from Atlanta, you realize Atlanta is so predominantly black that outside of here, like you're like, oh, it's a lot of white people in the world. Other than that, Atlanta's like its own planet when it comes to that. So yeah, like I don't spend a lot of time with um, white people, but because of Killer Mike, I spent a lot more time around white people, and I'm just generally quiet. I'm I never I'm very aware, and I love being aware of my surroundings. And I'm a student, so I listen. I want to hear people's stories. I want to hear about Mickey's life. I want to hear about his training. I want to hear about his hardships, his trials. I want to hear what he overcame. I'm into that type of stuff. That's what inspires me, people's testimonies. So I try to do a lot more listening than talking.
Hmm. I like that. I like that. The older I get, the more like that I become. I was asking about the white people thing because I I'm so tired of people saying like you were starting to say something and you stopped yourself like these are good people in spite the fact that they're white.
No,
And
I wasn't about to say that.
you caught yourself. You were like, yeah, they're pretty good people and they're not even black. It's I grew up on the north side of Chicago in a area where there was no black people. There was one kid in my neighborhood that I grew up with that was from this area, and then if unless I went to the city where my family's all from, we never there was no black people up here anywhere. And now that's not the case, but we spent a lot of time in the city where my grandparents lived and traveled around quite a bit. And my mom and dad just really it wasn't a thing. Like you just did the color of somebody's skin, it was something obvious, but it wasn't a thing that was really talked about. Like that's Bear, he's black. It just wasn't that's Bear. And so I was kind of raised, I don't want to say colorblind because that's bullshit, but it's an interesting thing, man, how easily everybody automatically codifies people. I look at comments online. This is how Mike and I met, and I still push back because I refuse to buy people's bullshit narrative because and I'm not talking about you, but like because you think a way doesn't mean I think that same way, or because you
For sure.
live that way doesn't mean that I understand your life, and it doesn't mean you understand my life because, and I'm not even talking about black, white, just humans. But well, here's a common narrative. Uh, that's white people stuff, or that's black people stuff. Of course, there are things. As a young man, I was exposed to a guy. He's wonderful. I need to reach out and talk to him. I haven't spoke to him in forever. He was a engineer for Northrop Grumman Corporation. His name's John McClendon. And I believe he actually might have been from Atlanta looking back. I spent a ton of time with this guy. My sister was friends with his kids. And so we'd see him after church. He was part of my parents' church. He was probably 50 when I was 18, 17. And he was just a cool guy. We spent a lot of time together, and he moved to our area where he was probably one of 200 black folks in the whole county. And so, like I said earlier, I just wasn't introduced to or had the opportunity to know a lot of people, but he like forced me to know some of his culture. And his white wife learned how to make food that he grew up with. So she would cook it and serve it, and he'd correct her and tell her, no, my mom does it like this or that. And so I would eat at their house all the time. And it was kind of a cool experience, especially he probably about 75 now. And just talking about him, I'm definitely going to have to reach out and connect with him because it's been a few years. But I never ever remember that guy ever saying anything negative about anybody. And that made me maybe have a different perspective. just because of the people I was exposed to. But like talking about just a moment ago, how you said, I don't remember if we were recording or not, but you don't talk to many white people, and I think I was breaking your chops as we started about the resting bitch face. We were recording, so like to you, we don't talk like that to each other. Like just these differences in communication are super interesting to me. So let's dig into that a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just to give you a little bit more background on me, because on the way I was raised, and I just spoke about this yesterday, I believe, um, with Killer Mike, just to even explain to him, like, having spent as much time as I did with early in life as the son of a Marine, we were around all races of people, right? My family, mother and father being from Connecticut, New Haven, Connecticut, and Woodbridge, Connecticut, we're around a lot of different races of people, right? Moving to where I was born in Anniston, Alabama, at 6 years old, living with my great grandparents. My great grandmother was born in 1903, the daughter of a sharecropper. My grandfather was born my great grandfather was born in 1895. The street that we lived on was owned by the Ball family. My grandfather was Eli Ball. His brothers and sisters, this road, Rock Quarry Road, was theirs. Like if it was 20, 30 acres, a road at some point, they paved it, dirt road through the middle. My cousins, they were all raised there, right? So there was a time where, with me spending time there, I experienced or learned about the absolute fear of fear that Black people had of white people. My cousin and I were close in age at 7 years old, riding our bikes down this huge hill. We crashed. We were told never leave the street. Do not go around the curve. If you go past a great auntie's house, you've gone too far. You're on a street where white people are, right? We drove our bike around there, rode it, fell, went into a ditch and a barbed wire fence, tore the bike up. We broke up. We 7 and 6 years old. Pulled myself out of the sticker briars and shit and crying. And I'm walking across the street to the porch of whoever lived in this house to ask for help. My little cousin, Terry, who lives in Seattle now, he was part of the Navy for many years, screamed and cried and begged for me not to knock on those white folks' door because they will kill you. And that experience, mind you, I did not knock on the door. We drug ourselves back to where we were supposed to be, 3-4 blocks away up on the other side of the curve. But that terror, that fear, was a trauma for me that I can recognize now. Was to hear the absolute fear of my cousin saying that these white people will kill you. My mother having to teach me and talk to me about being a big Black kid who could be looked upon as scary by people who do not know me. Like there's a certain way to carry myself. These things were taught to us as children when it came to dealing with or encountering white people, white police, being in certain areas of town. We grew up like that. So it's a very much a difference in the way you grew up and the way we grew up. And I'm saying we, my sister and I, even Killer Mike, we talk about there's certain areas of it outside of Atlanta that we knew we couldn't go. We would not, we're not going to Cobb County. We weren't going to Fayette County. We definitely wasn't going to Forsyth County. There's certain areas we could not go. We were told, do not take your ass nowhere near these white folks. It's dangerous. That's the way we were raised. They maybe
That's
not
crazy.
raised like that, maybe not raised like that. I couldn't imagine that young people today in Atlanta is raised like that. But in some of these rural towns, yeah, no, there's definitely fear instilled. Fear as a child, fear. So for me, I just love to talk. I just love to listen. I just love being in environments other than what I'm accustomed to because I did live on Paris Island. I did live Camp Lejeune. I did live in New Haven and Woodbridge, Connecticut. I did spend a lot of time in New York working with Bad Boy Entertainment and 112. So culture is not something I've ever had a problem with, but being friends with, it really was very rare that I would have a friendship with somebody that was not black.
I get so hearing that definitely, um, I can think of some parallels in my life completely unrelated to race, but just things that we were told. I can give you a great example. So my dad was a Pentecostal preacher. So things like certain music, they were bad, or certain people that did certain things, smoke, drink, etc. Like, and so you just developed as a child, like, oh, that person's drinking beer, they're going to hell. Of course, I don't think like that as an adult, but as a child, you hear a thing enough, and you just, it's not that my parents didn't say you drink beer, you go to hell, but you start to also formulate things as a kid based on all of the things that you're told. I mean, we were told people that listen to rock music have demons, which the ironic thing was my father was a rock musician that has a wall of guitars and played all the shit. But so there was a little bit of a dichotomy there. Why can't we just judge each other based on who we are? Problem I have, like listening to what you just said, my experience with all the people I grew up around, there's nobody I know that thinks like that. There's nobody I know that, and that's different area, right? But we're about the same age, but a different area of the country. There's nobody I know that if a couple of children were riding their bikes, would those kids be in danger, right? Nobody I know. No, no, regardless of who they were. So like to me, hearing that story, it's bizarre. I might have told you when I last saw you. I interviewed a guy. His name is John Stryker Meyer. Cool name. He was part of the MACSOG V program during Vietnam. These were like the special operations of all special operations guy. And only just recently was all the stuff that these guys did declassified. This dude's this super badass super soldier, and when he comes home, he becomes a school bus driver in I forgot what community, but it's in areas that are being desegregated, and he's driving the school bus full of like first, second graders, and it's black kids, white kids, whoever, and white parents are throwing rocks at the bus and bricks, breaking the windows out. And to me, this is insane. I'm listening to this. And from this guy telling the story, he's like, his job's get these kids to school. And this is this super soldier that's done unspeakable things in battle. So he's like going to a crazy place in his head. And of course, he just drives away and gets the kids somewhere safe. But he comes back from this war zone to this different war. And I mean, I don't know a single adult that would do such a thing. So it's very hard for me to even to even put myself in a place to understand that type of visceral hatred. You started talking about children. I can find it very easy to hate somebody or dislike somebody based on watching how they live or what they do. I live in Chicago. There's guys that shoot neighborhoods up every day. I don't like these people. I don't have to like them. And I know I've got my little brother's girlfriend was murdered in the street on the west side of Chicago 10 years ago. Guy walked up and shot her in the head. And she was a college student. She had nothing. He never met her, just crazy violence. That type of a person, I can develop a strong feeling for, but kids, like what you're talking about with these kids that they have nothing to do with the choices their parents make. They have nothing to do with who their mom or dad are. None of us do. And so that's a different thing for me. And I don't even know where I'm going with this. It always seems like we take the past and apply it to the present, which I guess we have to because that's experience. But
If there's unresolved traumas, yeah, I mean that's going to happen, and a lot of us are walking around with unresolved trauma. We're walking around with misinformation. We're walking around with domesticated mindset that was given to us by our grandparents, great grandparents, or parents who didn't have access to the information or exposed to the things that I'm exposed to. So I absolutely understand what you mean by like what? Like that doesn't even. It seems ridiculous. It seems ridiculous to me even now, being aware and being able to share. Like, oh yeah, this is why I never thought about this. You know what I mean? This is how I, at 5, 6, 7 years old, shit, I'll go all the way into high school. My first year of high school in College Park, 1983, we get off the school bus and some kids had tied a noose, hung a raccoon by a noose at the front door of our school and spray painted on the wall, "Niggers, we don't want you here." This is 1983, 13 years old. And we were very aware that we were in College Park, moving into a predominantly white area, and they didn't want us there. Like, I have seen the Ku Klux Klan march down what is now Old National Highway. It was Old National Highway then, but it's a legendary strip in College Park where, a lot of these incredible musicians and producers and artists, grew up. But the Ku Klux Klan marched there several times. So that's just what the South was for me. That's my experience, So, but here I am on this podcast with my new buddy and pal and friend, Mickey, who is going to teach me some shit I want to learn about.
What do you want to learn about? That's not normally how I do this, but what do you want to learn about?
Now, that's probably something I don't want to talk about.
What's that?
That's probably something I'm not comfortable talking about online.
Oh, okay.
But you can imagine of firearm safety. That's all.
Well, we talk about that. I mean, look at the room behind me, man. I'm in a room full of firearms. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not around firearms, so I don't know. I'm not familiar with. I just see boxes and stuff. I don't know what that stuff is.
I like your coyness. Why be coy about firearms?
something I'm not probably willing to talk about.
Okay. Well, I just
We can
meant,
talk about offline. We
I mean,
can talk about
the
offline
Second Amendment's for everybody.
for sure.
Yeah. And the way I see it, I think in grade school, every child should be taught the entire list of our rights, including the amendments that came after the Bill of Rights, and exactly what they mean to that child, so that they understand as they go forward into adulthood, they know what they're entitled to.
For sure. I totally 1000% agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, we don't need to talk about that.
Okay.
These are registered weapons.
Are they? I didn't even know they did that anymore.
They don't. I did it myself. I printed it myself on the computer. Registered weapons. Um, kind of taking the conversation the discussion that we've been having, this kind of race related thing. It's an interesting thing. You talked about grandparents or great grandparents. That I take my kids places that I enjoy. I don't take them places I don't enjoy. I teach my granddaughter the music that I like, etc. All of that's very normal. It's pretty shitty that the stuff that people did 50, 100, 200 years ago, we have to deal with. And that's just the way it is. But like the thing I'm interested in is, how do we not have to do that anymore? Like, I don't have to like every custom that you like, or vice versa. I don't have to worship how you do, or listen to the same tunes, or wear the same clothes. But like, at what point do we lay down the bullshit where what people did in another time and place is no longer our burden? That's kind of,
Absolutely. That word domestication, man, that word trauma and things that we've learned, again, like my instructor, Sifu Terrence Walker, Northern Shaolin Praying Mantis practitioner, as well as a JKD instructor, used this poem in the first level of learning, but throughout it's applicable. And the poem was empty. Empty is a cup that it may be filled. The best way to learn an art is to become empty, so that all knowledge pours in fresh, new, incredible, and unpredictable. And every experience is transforming, transcendental, worthwhile, and real. Even an instructor must become empty so that he too may learn empty. So for me, whatever information or knowledge that I have that's not useful, I don't want it. I throw it out so I can get some new information. And I raise my children that way. Adaptability, fluidity, flexibility, even in your beliefs, because I can only teach my children, I can't teach my children what I do not know. But what I do want them to do is study to show thyself approved. I want them to study as much. I moved into an area where education was highly ranked. They went to private school, they went to charter school, they went to public school. So they've always had a wide range of friends and friendships and schoolmates, teammates. So for me, I don't live my life stuck in a way that does not serve me today. And having over the last 30 years been blessed to be able to travel the world several times over, I'm in the company of some pretty incredibly high skilled people, some with high morality. If I could judge, their morality, high level of integrity and character. So I learn from everybody, and I want my children to understand that. Get this information, figure out what's useful to you, share some information based on your fundamentals that you've learned, but do not prejudge anybody, not prejudge by any stretch of the imagination, a color, a size, a wardrobe, shoes, don't judge anybody for no reason. Get to know that person and see what you can share with them and they can share with you that, will increase or help you elevate. So that's how I live my life.
It's a hard one sometimes. I can think of numerous times where I did that, prejudge somebody, and then later found out, man, I'm an asshole. Like that guy's great.
Mhm.
Or on the flip side, maybe I saw some shiny bits on the outside. You know, maybe they were famous or whatever. People say this all the time that they're not impressed by fame or you know, accolades, and I don't think I am. I've met plenty of people that are, I guess, famous or have some kind of accolades in like the music Hollywood space. And for the most part, I don't think any of them. I mean, if I got to hang out with Paul McCartney, that would probably be kind of cool.
That would
But
be
even,
impressive.
yeah, that'd be kind of cool. But I mean, even then, I I I don't think it would do too much. I wouldn't. It'd be cool, but it wouldn't like, you know, I wouldn't freak out about it. But there's been people I know that I've maybe given more credence to than I should have without knowing more. And then later I got maybe burned financially or wasted a bunch of time uh, in trying to do some business venture or even emotionally, you know, like, oh, this person's a piece of crap, man. They hurt me or created some situation that caused me a bunch of grief or my family a bunch of grief. And then you look back like the impetus, there was some warning signs there that I didn't pay attention to because I saw the
Hmm.
shiny bits. It's an interesting thing. And I see why I've said this a bunch to myself lately. I see why old guys sit on their porch and want to be left alone because it's like it's a lot of freaking work to give people the energy to like figure it out if they're the kind of person you want to be around or not.
Well, again, another saying or that I adopted from a doctor that I spent some time with, and he was a runner, and he asked me what kind of shoes I had on, and I can't remember what I had on, maybe some Nikes or something. And he said, "Do you run?" I said, "No, I'm not a runner." And I said, "I noticed you have on New Balance. Are you a runner?" He said, "Yes, I run marathons." I was like, "Oh, okay." And I had newly got familiar with the African guy who did the under 2 hour marathon.
Hmm.
So I mentioned his name, and the doctor was like, "Yeah, he's cool." And I was like, "Yeah, he's cool. He did a marathon under 2 hours. What are you talking about? He's cool." He's like, "Yeah, I'm not impressed. Basically, I can do that. I'll be. You'll see me doing that." So I was like,
Wow.
"Okay." And he shared with me these words: "If you should find that you can come from nothing and become something, remain unassuming and unimpressed." And it's that stuck with me. He only had to say it one time. And for me, I've lived my life based on the teachings of my grandparents that all that glitters is not gold. Man makes money, money doesn't make the man. And I've seen through a spiritual eye or from my heart, I've seen people be greedy,
Hmm.
vicious. Um, what's that other word? When you think you're better than everybody and you treat everybody like shit,
Conceited,
conceited, arrogance.
arrogant. Yeah.
Seeing all this, and I never wanted to be in the music business because that's the type of people that I was seeing for the
Hmm.
most part. And for me, it didn't align with my core values. So I've always lived my life being maybe unassuming, but definitely unimpressed. Um, the first time I met, and the only time I met Mike Tyson, I was a super fan. The only time I met Muhammad Ali, I was a super fan. But I realized my appreciation or fanship of these people were based on what I perceived they had to go through, what they literally had to choose to go through in training in order to accomplish these goals. The things that I see some of these artists or producers, and I'm not judging them, like they didn't go through some hard times or things of that nature. But as an athlete, as a person who trains in combat, um, it's so pure in nature that for me, I just have a high level of respect for people who will train that hard and be consistent in training and be okay with losing a fight in front of millions of people. For me, that takes courage.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, that's a great point.
So that's the type of people who I'm like, I'll be a fan.
The man in the arena, as
Sure.
Roosevelt talked about.
Is that right?
Yeah, you know that.
Man in the arena.
Do
No.
you? No, you don't know that one.
Share.
I'll read it. I'll read it to you so I don't butcher it.
Yes, sir.
This was you know who this president was, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Teddy Roosevelt. He said, "It's not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by the dust and the sweat and the blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." Theodore Roosevelt.
I love it. That will be added. That will be added to my brain, to my memory. I will definitely be reading that 100 times, that it will stick. And if not, I'll just pull it up and read it to others. Because for me, the courage to try, the courage to take yourself through some suffering in order to get some self-discovery and address some traumas and some fears and doubt. I think in all my years and in my incredible instructors who I hold in such high regard have kept me humble based on getting my ass beat repeatedly all the time. Like I've just never not been around incredibly talented, dope, highly skilled people. Killer Mike being one of them, who I must remind at times, like, you do know you're not regular. You're not the average man. You have a high skill set. You have great talent. You're creative and you're courageous because you put yourself out here in front and put yourself on the line to be judged and criticized and talked about every day. You get on stage in front of thousands of people, nervous as heck, and you still go do what you have to do. So I have a high level of respect for, entertainers for the most part, based on what they do, not based on who they are personally, and athletes, and athletes who don't get so consumed in self that that they can still be relatable, or I can still relate to them.
It's an interesting point because I think I've been dismissive of some of these people in my life as somebody not to look up to. I mean, I definitely appreciate. Half my family's musicians, and I can appreciate that skill set and the time. My dad used to say, he wouldn't say it to people, but like if somebody said, "Oh, you're so talented, he's a great guitarist, like you really have a gift," he'd say they didn't realize I spent my entire youth alone in the bedroom while my friends were chasing tail or whatever. He was practicing scales and doing a thing. So I can appreciate that, but I never really thought about the point you just made, the putting yourself out there to be judged. You know, it's kind of like even something as simple as putting a piece of art in a local gallery, like you're letting people say that's good or that sucks. And I, it's, we can have a million that's good, but like one person says it sucks, man. And you're like, wait, what?
It hurts.
Yeah, why'd
It
you do
hurts.
that? Yeah. I get
Hurts.
plenty of that kind of hate.
Yeah, it's a terrible. It's a it being in the position as a manager and having been a part of creating arts of work from albums to photo shoots to music videos to you putting your heart into this stuff, even down to one of the most difficult things for me to do was be a part of picking models for videos and stuff like that. It's just so damn, is everything have to be judged? Like seeing women like, I want to make this video, I want to be the video vixen, and the director be like, she's not the one, she's not it. Like all that causes some type of pain. Then the pain that could for some break you, but for some make you want to go harder and try harder and push
Mm,
harder. You know what I mean? So
hmm.
for me, it's needed, it's necessary. Hell, I had, and I'm sure you have also been tested by your instructors, whether in learning firearms or being taught how to use firearms and taught firearm safety. Correction, you know what I mean? For me, not criticism, but correction. For me, is something that even if it hurts, I want it. I want to be corrected. I want any false belief to be abolished. I want truth.
Mm.
Um, so, with that being said, I'm, student mindset. I try to stay in and not fighting that ego though. Fighting that ego. Oof.
We do a 5 day course every year that is it's pretty immersive, and most of the students that have never been to it show up. It's about 100 people involved in this whole training experience, and people see it online or they've heard about it, and you can see the look in some people's faces, like they've taken off work for a week, they've traveled from wherever to the center of the country where we host this thing. It's a lot of work, and you know, you don't want to look stupid. You maybe it's like you don't know everybody or you don't know anybody, and we start the entire event. I start every class like this, but at this event we take a little extra time because we're together for 5 days, all day, every day, morning till night, and we go for a walk around the training ground. We walk them out to the range, we walk them to the grappling pit, we walk them to the classroom, and we ask, why are you here? Why'd you come here? And people all have like a reason. You know, I came here to get better. Better at what? You know, what's that mean? And we kind of like dig into that, and then we talk about the ego thing. And my buddy Z, fifth group Green Beret, jujitsu black belt, uh, really skilled fighter, great guy, kind of like a hillbilly poet. He's from Greenville, South Carolina, is where he was born, but I usually let him take over, and he talks about the truth. He talks with his hands too, and he takes his fingers and he says, "I don't give a fuck why you came here if you're not here for the truth." And he says, "We're going to show you something in the next couple days that it might not be mean anything to anybody in the world, but you'll look back and you'll realize that if you're man enough or woman enough to look at yourself, you'll find some truth." And we're not doing anything crazy, but oftentimes we don't even look. And I'm not trying to teach you. I'm just talking to
No,
whoever's
I'm a
listening.
yeah. You are teaching.
But like we got
Thank
this
you.
idea of like, oh, well, you know, Bear's trying to make me look bad, or Bear's telling me this or that. When the truth is, I'm doing the thing. And if I just listen and then fix whatever it is, it would be great. But the real truth isn't even what you're teaching me. It's that I'm too stupid or ignorant or childish or small minded to even listen. And I paid you. I paid you and I traveled here. I mean, we had a guy one time leave. He left the event. He was a medical doctor, so you know he's smart. He was, and he's not a quitter because he went through medical school, but having to subject himself to some punks, you know, some guys out there like me, and we're not demeaning anybody. He screwed up and it was unsafe what he did, and can't have unsafe shit where somebody gets hurt. And there was no, it wasn't like when your dad was in the Marines where somebody was being called names or nothing like that. And that's not the intention. But he would have preferred had we called HR and had a private meeting and like, this is just my interpretation of it. Instead, it was like, hey, man, you can't do that. That's unsafe. And that was all that it was. But that was such a blow to his ego, where in his world, he's the doc, he's in charge, his word is, you know, God. And he made up some bullshit that he had an emergency and had to leave. And he later admitted to me that there was no emergency and that he was upset. And it's like, that's some bullshit, man. Like that, you were
Yeah.
that afraid to look inside for a minute and just all you had to say was like, I'm sorry I messed up. Thank you. Sorry, everybody. And like that would have been, it would have been
It,
cool.
it, it's a lot of those people. It's a lot of those people who cannot apologize, who do not want to be publicly corrected, who do not want to be put on the spot. Our training, and forgive me for speaking for you, does not allow for us to just be okay with what we think and what we believe. There has been many, many generations of people who have developed these arts or systems that we train in that are sharing this information with us, and we need and want that structure in order to preserve the sweat and the blood that others have invested in what we do, whether it's um, Shaolin Kung Fu, or whether it's writing a song, or whether it's raising our children or being a good husband to our wives. Um, it's just amazing to me how much martial arts has impacted my life and changed me, transformed me into a hopefully a better person. My Kung Fu instructor, Sifu Terrence Walker, may he rest in peace, um, would say that and taught me that Kung Fu simply means great skill acquired through great sacrifice. And with that, your reason for being here. And he would ask the class, and classroom, our classes would change, new students here and there, people who quit here and there. And he would ask frequently, why are you here? Why do you want to train in Northern Praying Mantis Shaolin Kung Fu, a 7-star Northern Praying Mantis Shaolin Kung Fu? And everybody had a different reason other than I want to be a better human being. I think that this art will help me be a better brother, a better homeboy, a better husband, a better father. And at the end of the day, that's what the martial arts has. Hopefully, I hope my wife and my children will be able to say, you've been an excellent father to us, Dad. But it's about self development, enlightenment, and patience. As I trained in New York under Sifu Xian Ming at the Shaolin Temple USA, that word was used on repeat every class. Patience, patience, patience. Not only have patience for yourself, but have patience for others
Hmm.
in the journey of learning, So here we are. And I appreciate you sharing the information that you're sharing with me that helps me in my quest or my journey to help my community through Bear Strong Inc. and mentoring and just being a ear to hear and a voice to speak calmness in think things through, never react off emotions, don't make a decision based off the way you feel. Let's do the math, and then keep some of these kids out of harm's way, out of the prison system, and help them make sure that they're not getting killed because they lead with their emotions. They decide with their emotions. Martial arts has taught me stillness, concentrating on relaxing or soothing my nervous system through breathing and focus. So
you said a few things there talking about, so one of like the hallmarks of what we do with Carry Trainer is what's my goal? Is the thing I'm about to do or plan to do or do in an instant taking me closer or farther away from the goal? Like, if I live off soda and junk food, but my goal is to live a long, full life, then that takes me away from the goal of a long, full life. If I engage with you in a street fight that's completely unnecessary, other than we start bumping chests and I can't just let you win that stupid chest bumping and walk away, even if I beat your ass, but and I don't go to jail and no negative outcome lawfully happens, am I know I did the wrong thing. So when I lay my head down at night and I later go, dang it, why did I give into that? Even if all the good things happen, is that a long, full life? No, because now I've got remorse and all these other things. Or worse, you break my teeth, you kill me, we both go to jail, whatever. Um, and it seems like it's very easy to talk about, and I can't speak for you, but I know I've caught myself. We spoke about this a little bit when we were talking last. I've caught myself like, damn, man, you know better. Like, what the hell? What the, and sometimes it's just that, like, some people call it the reptile brain, the lizard brain, the dinosaur brain, that part deep in your DNA where, oh, you're not going to tell me shit. And that's a hard one.
For me, and I'm wondering, when you say the reptile brain, I was going to ask, where did you learn that from? Meaning, for me, in a few of the situations that I've been in where I've had to exchange energy with an enemy attacker, I was very aware of my instructor, Mark Clark, would say, if you're doing what you decide to do based off your emotions and you have not gone through everything in your mind to walk away from this situation, have you done the right thing? So for me, not being calm, not being clear of thought, not being soft in a way to put water on the fire, de-escalate. Did I do everything I could have done to make sure that these two energies didn't have to have a disruptive, combustible interaction with one another? And that's, for me, if I missed the mark on that, I would feel terrible. Like I have literally made my instructors disappointed in me because that's not what they were teaching. That was my ego. That anytime that ego swells up for me, I'm like, oh no, I can't do that. That's not what, in every kung fu movie that ever existed, the old kung fu master who's rubbing his beard, he's so calm. Everything is so effortless. Everything is effortless. There is no, my Sifu Terrence Walker would say, whether you have one enemy attacker or 10, your heart rate should not change. I have to apply that to life, And as they say, martial arts is life. So, yes, my son got a speeding ticket the other day. Yes, my son made a C on a test. Yes, my wife forgot to cook my steak. Yes, all those things should not, if we're truly in our training as a student and being relaxed and being able to let things roll off our backs and not internalize that shit, we have some improving to do in our training.
I think that's the challenge, right?
Yes,
We've never really identified the truth, and we're looking at the how do I strike, or how do I get the sale, or how do I get more views or more likes or whatever the frickin' thing is, and it's the truth has never even been looked at, which I would be lying to say I don't miss that daily in some way, but I try to. You can almost go too far though, where then nothing matters.
for
Like,
sure.
where then it's like we might as well just go live on a beach with grass skirts on because nothing matters other than like our perception of ourself and the
I agree.
environment. Like I still got steaks to buy and bills to
I
pay
agree.
and all that stuff too.
Got to be
How
a balance in it. Got to be a balance in it, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. How do people get involved with helping your organization?
Right now, we are definitely booting up for 2026 to do some activations. So kids are essential. We have a website, Bear Strong np.org, np as in nonprofit.org, where you can make donations, financial donations, or we can connect via email and you can send a donation, whether it's at one point the NBA Players Association sent me a box of gift cards, all type of stuff that these kids were just thrilled to get. A dentist can send, or anybody can send toothpaste and toothbrushes to me so that we can make sure these families have them. But for the most part, Zelle, Cash App, PayPal, and through the website. Through the website. We definitely need your help, the community's help to carry on this work because it doesn't stop. It never ends. It never ends. And that can be heartbreaking, but for me, just putting a dent in it, just putting a smile on a child's face who might not have anything to have hope for or anything to be happy about, um, it means the world to me. So it's somewhat selfish, but I feel like my mother, Diane, would be very proud of her twins and what we've done to help others and help people in need and be that in our community to uplift our kids and be there to listen and minister to them. So definitely the website, and I'll send you all of that. So if you can, put it on this post or what have you, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Yep, yep. Can you say the name of the website too, just for people listening that don't actually view?
Let me
I
make
believe it's Bear Strong MP.
np.org.
Yep. So
NP, yeah,
BEARSTRONG letter N letter P.org.
yeah,
All
dot
right.
org. And my Instagram is Bear Strong NPO, nonprofit organization, Bear Strong NPO. You can find us there, and it has all our information on there as well.
I,
Facebook, IG, website.
bro, I appreciate you taking the time. We've been talking for nearly 2 hours, so I'm just for the sake of the listener, don't want to make it too long where they can't get through the episode. I appreciate that you carved out some time to share. Went down some places I wasn't intending to talk about it all and learn some new stuff myself. So I appreciate you.
Oh man, God is the greatest, and I'm thankful for the opportunity. I'm thankful for this. The whole thing about trusting God is that although when we met in Chicago backstage, and maybe the interaction wasn't the most pleasant, this is what came from it. So I'm extremely thankful for everything, and I trust God that all things work together for good for those who love the Lord, and I love God. So this energy is timing for us.
You were tired. I'm just breaking your chops, but I'm sure it was a long day and you were 1,000 miles from home in a strange place trying to go to bed.
And Dave Chappelle doesn't go to bed. He
You,
doesn't
you,
need sleep.
that's we all need it. I always ask folks if the people listening or watching never met you, never crossed your path in life, never saw your face again, what would you leave them with?
Um, find the courage to challenge yourself, and in that challenge, be healed and evolve.
Hmm. Talk about that a little bit more.
I see that word comfortability is so debilitating to our growth. And I've seen many, many, many men and women achieve incredible things and become comfortable in a lifestyle, be comfortable in people around them who are yes men or yes women, be comfortable with not being challenged. As you stated earlier, it's really the God complex where you know everything and you whatever you said goes and you're never challenged. It really makes your ability to think and make great decisions limited. So for me, I found that the most incredible human beings that I've been around have accepted challenges, accepted doing things that they were scared to do or had doubt or lacked courage in, and have learned so much from doing those things that it improved who they are spiritually, mentally, and physically. And with that, for me, those are the type of individuals that I love to train with, that I want to be friends with, that I want to be around. People who can be corrected and people who can teach. And in that, your cup has to be empty. In order to be a student, you have to get rid of, if you know everything, it's nothing I can teach you. So the challenge is to dump that stuff out in order to get new information, in order to transform. The Christians call it being born again, but we can literally be a new creature every day if we just change the way we think. But that makes a person have to not be in their comfort zone.
I dig it.
Accept the challenges, man. Go through the trials and tribulations, trusting that you'll be better for it in the long run. As they say, it builds character, builds integrity. It helps you discover that power within yourself, that true power that we have. So
I like it. I appreciate you digging deeper into that explanation just so that we all knew exactly what you were saying.
no problem. My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on, brother.
Thank you. You guys that tuned in, please do go check out his pages there on Instagram and Facebook and the website. Consider somehow getting involved with filling those needs. As always, be well. Don't be dickheads. Tell somebody that you love them and walk a higher line. Peace out. Visit our website, carrytrainer.com, for information about classes held throughout the U.S., Carry Trainer apparel, and upcoming projects. You can also email us at training@carrytrainer.com for information about setting up your own private course or speaking engagement. Training@carrytrainer.com or carrytrainer.com. Well, I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode of the Higher Line podcast with Mr. Sills. I know that I learned a lot. Hey, make sure that you guys check out Supervel Ammunition, our good buddies over at Secure It Tactical, for awesome firearm storage solutions. And then please do check out our brands, Gunfighter Gun Oil, made in the USA products to take care of your firearms. And of course, Ignis Lux Coffee. Ignis Lux is Latin for firelight. It denotes that fire that burns inside of all of us to keep the flames of liberty alive. Made with love just for you. We'll see you soon.